This is CNN.
The Artemis II crew ventured farther into deep space than any human has before, even their predecessors on the historic Apollo 13 mission. That is why it was really notable when they heard from the legendary astronaut Jim Lovell this morning. The late Apollo 13 commander reported this special message before he died last year at the age of 97.
Hello, Artemis II. This is Apollo astronaut Jim Lovell. Welcome to my old neighborhood. I'm proud to pass that torch on to you as you swing around the moon and lay the groundwork for missions to Mars for the benefit of all. It's a historic day, and I know how busy you'll be, but don't forget to enjoy the view. So, Reed, Victor, and Christina, and Jeremy, and all the great teams supporting you, good luck and Godspeed from all of us here on the good Earth.
Integrity crew. On April 15, 1970, during the Apollo 13 mission, 3 explorers set the record for the farthest distance humans have ever traveled from our home planet. Today, for all humanity, you're pushing beyond that frontier.
Yeah, from the cabin of Integrity here, as we surpass the furthest distance humans have ever traveled from planet Earth, we do so in honoring the extraordinary efforts and feats of our predecessors in human space exploration.
These 4 astronauts are now voyaging into a new frontier with a new view of the moon's features. And they've given some of them names, a crater now called Integrity after their spacecraft, and another feature named after Artemis Commander Reed Wiseman's late wife, who died 6 years ago.
Her name was Carol, the spouse of Reed, the mother of Katie and Ellie, and it's a bright spot on the moon.
The moon is getting ever closer. As the crew fly around its far side, they'll be taking images and recording descriptions of what they see.
And we're back with our live coverage of NASA's historic lunar flyby. These amazing live pictures as Artemis II nears the far side of the moon. In less than 20 minutes, the crew of Orion is expected to lose all communications with mission control. It's going to last about 40 minutes. I want to get right to CNN's Ed Levendaris outside the Johnson Space Center in Houston, where mission control is located. Ed, what is the mood like down there?
Oh man, Jake, this is just spectacular to witness and eavesdrop in on these astronauts as they're doing this incredible work capturing these images. I want to show you one still image that we were able to capture from the feed. It happened very quickly, but one of the astronauts, and remember it's almost like pitch black inside that capsule, so it's hard to make out, but you can see at one point one of the astronauts holds up an iPhone, and they are carrying iPhones up there, that has, just look at that shot, you can just only see the surface of the moon, and that's a view from one of those capsule windows. This was just a little flash on the feed that came down, but it kind of gives you a sense of what these images are going to look like once they get turned around here by NASA officials, I assume over the course of the next 24 hours. But it's just a riveting moment as this crew continues to capture these images. They are now well on the far side of the moon, and here in the next hour or so, they are going to be making the return journey home. And what is interesting is we've been watching all of this. Many of these astronauts' families, we've been listening, have turned up here at Johnson Space Center. They are in the viewing area of mission control, watching their loved ones carry out this work today. Kind of a front seat view there from mission control. And a couple times throughout the day, Jake, we've heard those astronauts sending messages back to their spouses and their children. So just an absolutely emotional and riveting day as we listen to these astronauts do this work today.
It's so exciting. Ed Levendera, thanks so much. And just a reminder for those watching at home, you're looking at live images from outer space. That's the Artemis II crew inside the capsule, and on the left side of your screen, right underneath me, that's the view of the moon that they have. I'm back with my panel, and also joining us remotely is former astronaut Garrett Reisman. Garrett, what could these 4 astronauts potentially learn today about the moon that we don't already know?
Well, they're making in situ observations, and they're looking down, they're taking pictures, and seeing things that no human eye has seen before. But, I keep thinking, Jake, about 1968 and the first time we sent humans around the moon, which is also a time of division and in American society and war. It's very much like today. And one of the people sent a telegram to the crew when they came back, and they said, "Thank you for saving 1968." And I really think that, human spaceflight has this magical capability to unite us. And when they come around the moon and they get a look at the Earth again, and they beam that down to us, hopefully that gives us all a sense of unity that we really need right now. And I think that's much more valuable than any observation that they make of the lunar surface.
It's a lovely thought and hope and wish and prayer for everyone. Garrett, can you put into context what it means for these astronauts to go farther from Earth than any human ever has, to boldly go where no man has ever gone before, as our previous guest, Mr. Shatner, might say? What do you think they're feeling right now?
Well, it's interesting, and I mentioned this before, they're doing a great job of communicating what they're feeling, which is kind of new for us astronauts. We used to, in the old days, we were steely-eyed missile men, test pilots that didn't really share their feelings, and I'm listening to them talking on the loops and hearing what they're feeling and what the emotions that came out when they named the crater after Carol. That's something new, and so they're sharing it all. So if you want to know what they're feeling, just listen, and they're telling you.
Joan, the astronauts were greeted this morning by a special message. Talk about emotional moments. Take a listen.
Hello, Artemis II. This is Apollo astronaut Jim Lovell. Welcome to my old neighborhood. It's a historic day, and I know how busy it will be, but don't forget to enjoy the view. So, Marie, and Victor, and Christina, and Jeremy, and all the great teams supporting you, good luck and Godspeed from all of us here on the good Earth.
So Jim passed away last summer. He was known for traveling on the Apollo 8 and Apollo 13 missions. What do you think hearing from him meant to the crew when they heard that?
You were talking about just touching moments throughout this mission, and that probably just had to touch the heart of every single crew member. Knowing that this gentleman literally paved the way for what they're doing today. And the crew said as much so that it was very humbling and very much an honor to have a message from someone who paved the way. So just a very touching message, and whoever thought of doing that and capturing it that was spot on.
Pretty brilliant. Yes, I agree.
So, Michio, okay, we talk about all these places that we don't know much about, right? And these mysteries. Elon Musk, he had talked a lot about Mars, and now he's saying, well, let's do the moon first. He posted on social media last month, or in February, for those unaware, SpaceX has already shifted focus to building a self-growing city on the moon, okay? Meaning people are going to live there and stay there and theoretically have children there. So we could potentially achieve that in less than 10 years. He says Mars would take 20 years. Do you think that is realistic for the moon? There could be actually a self-sustaining, self-growing colony there?
Yes, but it all comes down to one word: cost. You realize that at the height of the Apollo era in the 60s, the budget of the space program consumed 5% of the entire U.S. budget. That was unsustainable, but it was the Cold War. So what happened was, well, the whole thing collapsed. As a consequence, it was too expensive. Now, because rockets are reusable, prices have dropped dramatically.
Right.
And it's a whole new ball game now.
And there may be rare earths that are worth getting. I guess the two things.
As a possibility, right? It may be helium-3 to provide power on the moon.
Yeah.
The point is that the demographics and the footing of the build has changed as a consequence of the new reality. And that's going to open up the heavens, because we cannot sustain 5% of the federal budget on the space program. No. That's not possible.
All right, so let's bring in Bill Wiseman. He's the brother of NASA astronaut Artemis commander Reed Wiseman, who right now is Bill on the far side of the moon, farther away than anyone has ever traveled before. He's unable to communicate, so he's got another few minutes left here until we hear from your brother and the other crew again. So what's going through your mind right now, Bill?
I'm thrilled for him. He's doing exactly what he wanted to do his whole life. And I talked to one of his daughters today. Talked to my dad. Had exactly that same conversation. And I think we're all cheering for these guys. Not only are they having a great time, but they're doing great stuff for humanity. And we love it.
I know his daughters are so proud of him. Obviously, he is a single father and, lost his wife, Carol, in 2020. She had a long battle with cancer. And Ellie and Katie are now 20 and 17 and cheering their dad on. I know there was a moment on board the Orion earlier today that left them in tears because one of the astronauts told Mission Control that they wanted to name a crater on the moon, one of the craters that we were just talking about, in honor of Carol. Okay, sorry, so I'll read it. Jeremy Hansen says, at certain times of the moon's journey around Earth, we will be able to see this from Earth. And so we lost a loved one. Her name was Carol, the spouse of Reed, the mother of Katie and Ellie. And if you want to find this one, you look at it, and it's a bright spot on the moon, and we'd like to call it Carol. Let me just play it. We did just get this soundbite in, so I'll play it for you, Bill.
So at certain times of the moon's transit around Earth, we will be able to see this from Earth. And so we lost a loved one. Her name was Carol, the spouse of Reed, the mother of Katie and Ellie. And if you want to find this one, you look at Glushko, and it's just to the northwest of that, at the same latitude as Ohm, and it's a bright spot on the moon. And we would like to call it Carol.
And your brother was wiping tears away as Jeremy spoke, and then the whole crew embraced, just the four of them there together. Obviously for you and for Carol's children, for your whole family, this was a moment. What did it mean to you?
Well, first, it was completely unexpected. And so when I heard Jeremy talking about dedicating a crater to integrity, I thought that was going to be it. And then, you can hear it in Jeremy's voice. I'm amazed he was able to even get through it because it was so emotional. I probably talked to over 100 people today after that came out. And I think the phrase that everyone kept using was, I'm not crying, you're crying. Because I think that was what was going on across most of the country, if not most of the world. It was extremely well done, and I thought it was in fantastic taste, and I was really glad to see the crew hug at the end of that, because I think it was exactly what Reed needed. It was exactly what his kids needed.
And there was a moment when he made a heart shape with his hands at the camera, and we saw him do it last week when Artemis was heading to the launch pad before liftoff, and I know this was something that was a special symbol between him and his daughters. He had a moment with Ellie before 2014 mission where, that was sort of captured, her making that heart sign to her father right there. There it is from May of that year. How special is his bond with his children who, I know they are his biggest fans and supporters in this huge moment in his life?
And I think the same goes in reverse. Reed has been incredibly supportive of every single activity that his children wanted to do, and it's really reflective of the parenting that our parents gave us, which is support, don't control, support, let them discover and do what they want to do. And I think that heart symbol was really that was cemented, like you said. It was 12 years ago. We were in Kazakhstan about Reed was about to go and get separated for the first time from his kids because he really hadn't deployed in the Navy the whole time he was at NASA. That symbol of a heart in the bus picture that you have there, that was I think it was one of the pictures of the year in 2014. And Carol never wanted her kids to be on media of any kind, and the fact that she permitted that one, I think it just cemented it for everybody. And so I saw Reed and Ellie and Katie do that to each other, for the last 12 years. There you go.
All right, well, Bill, stay with us, please, because we're about to hear communications again regain. So let's listen to Mission Control as we hear this first
positioned, any missed
contact
targets or anything unexpected they saw. They're also including lunar target descriptions, any hardware issues, and their emotions and reactions. Again, we are standing by to acquire signal from the Orion spacecraft.
Now, look, Miles O'Brien is here with me too. Miles, just as we're watching this and this blue keep flashing up and mission control, is this basically they're starting to reestablish and it comes in bit by bit? Can you explain what we're looking at?
I think it's going to be pretty much an on-off kind of thing, Erin.
Yeah.
We will hear from them pretty quickly through the Deep Space Network. I don't know whether that has something to do with just the NASA TV signal, but I think we should hear fairly clearly from the get-go when they make their way around the horn and check back in. You know, it'll be interesting to see because they've been trained by scientists to articulate what they've seen, and it will be interesting to see.
After a 40-minute loss of signal during which the crew was flying behind the moon, out of contact with anyone on Earth.
It'll be interesting to see what they recorded, including they were encouraged to, how it made them feel to see it. But, the moon, we think of the moon as this monochromatic place, but as, Harrison Schmitt on Apollo 17 found that famous orange rock, which was of volcanic origins. There are more colors than we certainly see from where we sit. But ultimately, I'm very interested to see what the crew thinks about looking back at our home in the cosmos. I've talked to several Apollo astronauts, and to a person, they all spoke about how our goal was the moon, but we ultimately became much more interested and profoundly affected by our own home, by this blue marble we live on.
We are
So
getting our
Peggy,
first
here we go.
from
Let's
Orion.
listen.
After the loss of signal, Orion has come back around the other side of the moon. And that little crescent that you see is Earth, over 252,000 miles away.
All right, you just heard what they said at the NASA narrating. That
With
little
this transit complete,
fingernail.
Lunar flyby continues,
Okay.
but Orion has also technically begun its journey home.
So Orion has now technically begun its journey home because it has looped around that figure eight that Neil talked about around the moon. These are live images from outside the spacecraft, so they have reestablished that camera. We haven't yet heard from the crew, but we have
Right now, the
reestablished
crew
that.
are getting a few moments to enjoy and take photos of Earthrise for themselves, and we expect to contact them shortly. But we do have good signal coming from Orion.
Okay, and there you have it. So they're giving them a few moments to take pictures of Earth rising. And just to think about that, Neil, Earth rising, that little fingernail, most people would associate with, when the moon is at its tiny sliver. But that's actually the Earth.
Yeah, it's Earth.
From the Orion, so that's the view, and they're being encouraged to take a few minutes before they talk. We know their signals are back up. We're not talking to them, so they can observe it and picture it.
Just to be clear, full moon seen from Earth is 1/4 the size of full Earth seen from the moon. So what looks like a tiny little fingernail there will appear much bigger to them emotionally, psychologically, physically than any full moon has ever appeared to anyone
This view
here on
from
Earth.
inside the Orion
And it is pretty
spacecraft,
stunning, Michio, and how they're
all
giving
four
them.
astronauts now back on the other side
This
of the
is now
moon and
inside,
in
so we can
contact
see
with
them.
us on Earth. Their tasks for lunar flyby did not stop as they went behind the moon and out of contact with us. We anticipate during that time they were attempting to image some impact flashes, short-lived flashes on the lunar surface, which would be caused by impact bombardment and potentially even lofted lunar dust. Right now, of course, they are getting pictures of Earthrise. After this target, they will get a short observation
Earthrise, right?
break.
We are used to think of the moon
It's about an
rising
hour long,
at night,
actually.
the moon rise, that they are witnessing Earthrise.
I think that's a whole new vocabulary. A whole new vocabulary that we have
Oh,
to
let's listen to them. They're speaking right now here.
Houston, we have you the same, and it is so great to hear from Earth again. To Asia, Africa, and Oceania, we are looking back at you. We hear you can look up and see the moon right now. We see you too. When we burned this burn towards the moon, I said that we do not leave Earth, but we choose it. And that is true. We will explore, we will build, we will build ships. We will visit again. We will construct science outposts. We will drive rovers. We will do radio astronomy. We will found companies. We will bolster industry. We will inspire. But ultimately, we will always choose Earth. We will always choose each other.
Integrity from Earth, our single system, fragile and interconnected. We copy. Those of us that can are looking back.
So, Peggy, that sounded like Christina Koch, who is the only woman on board. Her last words there.
We copy.
Yeah. What she said, whatever happens, we will always choose Earth. Perhaps that gives us a small sense of the magnitude of what they just witnessed, emotionally and probably spiritually, with what they just saw and the perspective it gives them.
Yeah, it's got to be an incredible perspective. I know even from low Earth orbit, it is an incredible perspective to see our planet from above. And this has to be, 1,000-fold, 10,000-fold greater experience, I think.
I would say that that's the difference between what many astronauts describe as the overview effect, which they will see from orbit, where
Orion,
national borders disappear. But if you're in deep space, and Earth as a planet is out there alone in space, as Carl Sagan said, with no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. And it is there just as nature intends you to see it, with oceans and land and clouds. And so it changes you. As they said, we went to the moon to explore the moon. We looked back and discovered Earth for the first time.
It's almost, Michio, as if that's what she was saying, that there was something quite profound in the words that she chose to use there.
Time, the crew
Christina
is
Koch
entering an observation
was speaking.
break.
Part of what you're talking about, there's a new vocabulary for all of us, but also for the four souls who actually just had this experience.
Right, and if you were to summarize this whole discussion tonight in one phrase that summarizes the whole thing, I think it is that we're going after permanent presence. That we're not going to go to the moon as a flyby, as an afterthought. Permanent presence. We're going to go there to stay. Not just to gawk and come back and talk about it to our friends, but to go and stay. And I think permanent presence summarizes the new vocabulary.
And Tim, we're looking at this is live now. We do have comms back, so we've heard. This is the outside where we were looking a second ago at the inside. NASA's controlling this feed, just so everyone knows, the inside of the spacecraft. But this is, they changed right now. What do you think about what we heard? Christina Koch, she was the one that chose to speak up before. It was her.
It was inspiring, right? I mean, NASA has what's called the Moon to Mars architecture, which defines the path to the moon and then eventually maybe back onto Mars. And there's three pillars of science, inspiration, and national posture. And for me, they're just knocking the inspiration out of the park. I mean, it's fascinating to listen to their emotions. Even like personally, as a planetary geologist who studies other bodies in the solar system, people often ask me, what's your favorite planet? And the answer is Earth.
Well, that's what she just said,
exactly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, without the Earth, we have nothing. It provides for us, it sustains us, and it makes our exploration of the rest of the solar system possible. And by exploring the moon and by exploring the rest of the solar system, we can learn more about Earth, this fragile planet that we live on.
Right.
And so I really appreciated Christina's words there. I'm speechless now.
As stark and desolate as it is, right?
Yeah.
So the miraculousness of this planet. Ed Lavandera, you've learned a little bit more about what happened in that 40-minute blackout. You're obviously at the Johnson Space Center. You've been there at Mission Control. What have you learned?
Yeah, I just want to kind of offer up just exactly what the astronauts were doing while they were unable to communicate. They continued carrying out their assignments. I believe it was Victor, Glover, and Christina Koch were the ones in the windows documenting with the cameras and also working off the tablets there to making sure they capture all those images, and that it was Reed and Jeremy who were looking and doing their own observations. But I wanted to point out too, as we've talked about how they've split duties, and we hear some of the live descriptions, there's also another astronaut that has a headset on and is describing in real time into a laptop what they're seeing and what they're describing, and all of that we are not able to hear at this point. But so there is another kind of treasure trove of descriptive color of what they have seen that is being preserved and documented. And the scientists here at NASA have been really big in urging the astronauts, giving them a crash course in geology and well, not a crash course, they've been preparing this for a while, so but training them on what to look for in the geology and in the descriptions. They've really wanted to try very hard to capture all of that description and getting these astronauts to really describe what they're seeing, because they believe that the human eye at that distance, for even 4,000 miles, can see a lot of detail that these cameras in 2D are not going to be able to capture. So that's why they're very big in capturing all of that. And just to let you know, as much as we've heard today, just want to let people know that there's actually even more that another astronaut was continuing to document that is being recorded. And I'm not exactly sure when we're going to hear all of that, but that's another kind of treasure trove of description and scientific work that is being done on this trip as well.
Which is incredible. I want to go back to Bill Wiseman, the Commander Reed Wiseman's brother, but also just Ed, just to say one thing that Ed said that really just stands out, which is that it is reliance on the human eye to describe all these things as better than cameras. And in a day and age where we're told, AI can do everything and analyze everything, that we are relying on human beings and what they see and what they perceive as the best tool that we have. That is an incredible thing, I think, for all of us just to think about, Bill. And it is your brother that is up there and seeing that. Those are the eyes, he and the crew. I mean, how does it feel to know that now he is back in communications? They're flipping around the images, but a second ago we did just see a live picture from inside the spacecraft again.
Well, I can tell you that I know my dad's sighing a bit of relief. I just talked to him, and I was glad that he heard some positive words from Christina when they emerged from the blackout period. The 4 people they sent up there are some of the most competent individuals on the planet, and it's fantastic to see the positivity, the creativity, and the dedication that they've all been able to display. And what an amazing chance for these 4 individuals just to get this kind of an experience.
And I know your nieces will get a chance to, they were at Mission Control today. Reed had a chance to speak to them then, and I know hopefully will again as soon as they have begun. We now formally know, Mission Control described it as, the process to come home, right? They are coming home, they are heading towards re-entry. So do Ellie and Katie, I guess they're hopeful they'll be able to speak to their father pretty soon here?
Absolutely. I'm sure they'll get to talk to him a couple times. I think they actually had a video conference with him while he was outbound. I'm sure they'll do that on the way back as well. That's great. I know that Ellie's back at College Station now. I talked to her right when she got back after she was at Mission Control today. So I think it'll be a little bit of life as usual for the next 3 or 4 days, and then everybody's going to get the knot in their stomach.
Well, then it's splashdown, right? Then it's splashdown. I mean, what do you all as a family? Are you going to be able to be watching that together, or what are your plans for Friday and obviously that huge event of return?
Yeah, I would say as a Navy family, I think we're excited that the Navy's going to be going to take care of picking them up and getting the capsule out of the water and handling the recovery. So we feel confident in that. But I think we're all going to be getting together virtually and watching that. We were all together as a family for the launch week. And with a bunch of teenage children, getting everybody together is just going to be a bit too hard. But we'll do that virtually. And the great news is COVID gave us that technology to be able to do it well.
Well, that's right, and it's also life as normal with teenagers. So, Bill, thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. Here with our panel again, though, Neil, I just want to emphasize what really stands out from this in that moment. Not just the profound impact that it clearly had on the 4 individuals there with the words that Christina Cook chose to describe it as, right? We choose Earth. But also what Ed's laying out. That with all of the technology it takes to do this, with all the technology at our fingertips, and I know everyone says that there's more technology on this phone than there was in all the computers that sent Apollo to the moon,
That's basically correct, yeah.
And yet it is the human eye that they are relying on to see more than all of that technology. That's incredible.
And that that vision affects you emotionally, even spiritually, as you noted. If I may quote Edgar Mitchell from Apollo 14, upon coming back, he was interviewed in Time magazine, 1971. He said, "You develop an instant global consciousness, a people orientation, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world, and a compulsion to do something about it. From out there on the moon, international politics looks so petty, you want to grab a politician by the scruff of the neck and drag him 250,000 miles out and say, 'Look at that, you son of a bitch.'"
Well, with the profanity that has been thrown around over the past few days, that's nothing.
I guess that's nothing.
And perhaps everyone can learn a lesson from what you said and from what I think came out in her voice. All right, all, thank you so very much in this incredible moment. Our breaking news coverage continues. So next, Senator Mark Kelly, retired NASA astronaut, our guest. There he is. He's at Mission Control. What does it mean, this historic moment? And by the way, about grabbing those politicians by the scruff of the neck and saying, look at all of it and how valuable this is. We're following the breaking news out of Washington, where President Trump has given Iran 24 hours from now to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or else.
The entire country could be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night.
This is CNN.
And welcome back to this special edition of Out Front, Mission to the Moon, Artemis II. Artemis is now officially back in communications with Mission Control and on its way back to Earth. The reconnection has happened. We have heard from the astronauts just moments after they reached the maximum distance from Earth as part of this historic mission to the far side of the moon. Out front now, Democratic Senator Mark Kelly, who's on both Senate Armed Services and Intelligence Committees, also, of course, retired NASA astronaut, U.S. Navy combat pilot, among many other things to your name, Senator. So as you've been watching all of this, you're in Houston at Johnson Space Center. You know, we're all seeing this and I think marveling at it and what it might mean. You are seeing this, though, in a way that few are, through the eyes of an astronaut. So what did you see from watching this history unfold live, and what did you hear in those words from Christina Koch?
Well, I heard words of inspiration and hope and excitement for the future of our country and for the future of this program. I mean, this is one of the necessary steps we need to send humans back to the surface of the moon. And this time in like a more permanent way, and try to build an economy on the surface of the moon. And just to see the four of them enjoying this mission. And by the way, you got to give a ton of credit to all the folks that worked on Orion and SLS, because so far this has gone remarkably well.
Yeah, I mean, so far as Michio said, flawlessly, with the exception of the toilet, which I say not even to make a joke, because I know that's obviously a serious thing. But so far, in any way of getting there flawlessly, we see the astronauts inside Artemis. They're kind of switching the shot. So here they are right now inside moments ago. Then sometimes they show us the images that we're getting from outside the actual spacecraft. And they have just seen something, Senator, that no other human has seen before, right, in their journey. And they were able to do some of it when literally it was only the four of them, right? So they knew that there was that backstop, but they couldn't communicate, right? That there had to have been something incredibly powerful and profound in just that experience itself. What do you think is going through their minds right now? And I guess we got a glimpse of it from Christina Koch's words.
Yeah. Well, I heard from a number of folks about like the 40-minute that they're going to be in blackout on the other side of the moon, and is that going to make them nervous? And what does that mean? And are they going to regain communication with the Mission Control Center? And from their perspective, we used to have the same thing on the space shuttle for 15 minutes every lap around the planet over the Indian Ocean. That's actually a nice period of time for them. They don't have to wait. They don't have to be, thinking about the next call from the Mission Control Center from the ground. As a team, as a crew, they can enjoy those 40 minutes sort of in silence, just the four of them, together, and really take in what this experience means. Edward, you're right. Nobody else has seen this before.
They've now traveled further and will soon travel faster than any other humans in history.
It is incredible to think about it, and also, just those moments when we heard from Christina Koch when she first spoke, right? She was the one that the 4 astronauts had speak, and she said her final words really stood out, I think, to anybody listening. Let me just play them again for you, Senator.
Okay.
We will inspire, but ultimately, we will always choose Earth. We will always choose each other.
Something in that moment, and I know I have heard it from other astronauts. I remember Mike Massimino saying it. I don't know if you feel the same way, but hearing it from her in the instant that she felt it. And it's hard to say, not knowing her personally and not knowing the communications, whether there was emotion in her voice. It felt like that to me, but obviously I can't say for sure. But those are just that she chose those words in that moment. What did you hear there?
Well, I heard a little emotion, and I do know her. We did not overlap in the astronaut office, but, I've spent a little bit of time with her since I left, since she joined the crew office, and I did hear the emotion, and she's right. We will always choose Earth, and we have to. I mean, the Earth is an island in our solar system, and there is no place else for us to go. And, this is a common experience for astronauts. You see the planet as this big, round, mostly blue ball, and you realize that, we're not moving to Mars someday. That is not a shouldn't even be a realistic goal. The goal should be to take care of this planet in a way that it's sustainable for all of us. And you do get this strong sense how we are all in this together, and that's what I hear in her words.
And maybe there is no more important moment than the one that we are in now, right? With you still have the largest land war in Europe since World War II. You have the threat of annihilating another country and a massive war going on that is causing immense suffering for so many on this planet. So on that's the framework here as we're watching this. This is also happening here on Earth, and
Right.
we're about
Big
what is it
contrast.
now? 24 minutes and 24 hours, and 10 minutes away from President Trump's latest deadline for Iran to reopen what would be a tiny sliver of blue on that globe for them, the Strait of Hormuz, including obviously that profane and shocking social media post. He did issue other threats towards Iran today, including these in a press conference.
The entire country could be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. We have a plan, because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again.
I want to give you the chance to react to that.
Well, it's unpresidential, and it's also un-American to speak in those terms. We've got to be better than other countries, and our military is. It's professional. It's capable. It abides by the rule of law. That's who we are. We're not, we're not the Russians, and we can never be. And it saddens me, and I think it saddens a lot of Americans, to watch our president, and he is, the president of the United States, speak in these terms about annihilating another country. We're at war with Iran. I did not agree with what the strategic goal, I actually have not yet seen what the goal here, what he was trying to achieve. And the U.S. military has done well tactically. I think the president so far has failed in this strategically. And now we're in a situation with the Strait of Hormuz closed, 20% of the world's oil. It's driving up costs for the American people. This president said he was going to address those things when he ran for this office a second time. And he has failed. He doesn't seem to be paying attention to any of that.
So he also shared some details. You talk about the U.S. military and the incredible tactical success. Also in this rescue, we saw those the fighter pilot and the weapons services officer, just absolutely incredible to think about the training and the performance of the U.S. military. President Trump shared more details about the rescue of the missing American pilot and how he was rescued. Here he is.
Despite the peril, the officer followed his training and climbed into the treacherous mountain terrain and started climbing toward a higher altitude, something they were trained to do in order to evade capture. He scaled cliff faces, bleeding rather profusely, treated his own wounds, and contacted American forces to transmit his location.
Obviously important to note, Senator, that there he very carefully stuck with the script that he had in front of him he was reading. What else are you learning about this incredible rescue?
Well, you got to give a ton of credit to the folks involved in this rescue, which were Air Force Power Rescue Jumpers, PJs, Navy SEALs, Delta Force. This was a big effort. I mean, really a joint force effort to recover these two crewmen, these two airmen. We don't leave anybody behind, like under any circumstance. If you are shot down or you're a soldier on the ground, you're stuck behind enemy outlines, you're at risk, you know the United States military is going to do everything it can to rescue you. And that's what we saw here. You know, an incredibly capable team. And in the case of this weapons systems officer, doing what he was trained to do. And I think it's a incredible story of just resilience, but also of the professionalism of our military.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, Senator, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much joining us from Space Center, Johnson Space Center in Houston. Thank you, Senator Kelly. And the Artemis II mission is now headed back to Earth after accomplishing what humans have never done before. And we are learning some new details now about what's next for the crew here in these next hours, coming back into re-entry and splashdown. The Artemis II crew on the way back. This is a live image from on board the spacecraft. They have circled the far side of the moon, and the crew received a special message from astronaut Charlie Duke.
Hello, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. This is Apollo 16 astronaut Charlie Duke. John Young and I landed on the moon in 1972 in the lunar module we named Orion. I'm glad to see a different kind of Orion helping return humans to the moon as America charts the course to the lunar surface. Below you on the moon is a photo of my family. I pray it reminds you that we in America and all of the world are cheering you on.
Charlie Duke will be our guest tomorrow. AC 360 starts now.